Sky blue fishing. We're live out here at the lake, watching the sunrise. Got a marshmallow with a night crawler. That's what we're throwing out today. Beautiful night crawler with marshmallow. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do, everybody. Sun's just starting to come up here in beautiful Northern California. Birds are singing. Saw some fish jumping out there, trying to get them beautiful big rainbow trout. Come on, big trout, where you at? Hey, Upper City. Brizzity, how are ya? Hope you're doing well. Sun's just about to come up here. Beautiful Northern California. Little town of Mount Shasta. Yeah, it's so nice out here. Sun's just coming out. The birds are singing. Ooh, good morning, Reyes. It's cold. For city, it's terribly cold. It's about 27 degrees. 27 degrees Fahrenheit. We go by Fahrenheit. So just about 3-4 degrees below freezing. Shaddy, hey. I just threw it out. I like to wait until I go live. Till I see if I can get any catches. There's a bunch of beautiful trout in here, you guys. I don't think you can see it, but we got this like a cloud, the steam that rolls off the water. Oh, it's beautiful. I don't think it comes through in the camera very well. It's like a mist that gets all over everything. It is just beautiful. How's life for everybody? Everyone doing well, I hope. It's Saturday morning here. Sun is just about to come up. Starting our day out here on the weekend on the West Coast. Hoping for some big fish. Yeah. It is about 10 minutes to 7 a.m. in the morning. See if I can turn you gently and let you guys see the inlet over here. No, it doesn't show very well. That's where the sun's going to come up. This is more of the lake. You can kind of see the steamy cloud looking mist that goes over the lake over there. Oh, it's really beautiful. Yeah. Sun is just about to come up enough to give us good light. I'm in the serious Northern California mountains here. You never know what'll happen here. I've seen deer come asking me for refuge because something was chasing them, assuming it was a mountain lion. A big cougar was after them. They came running and swam across the water because they saw me. And they were like, please protect me. I'm always a little prepared every morning. The bear, mountain lion, I always see the deer here. But yeah, I was sitting here fishing and I heard this intense ruckus. I heard rocks crumbling like you wouldn't believe, just splashing into the water. And I looked up and I saw a deer with that incredibly scared look in its eyes, and it booked down the side of the hill as fast as it could, and it just jumped in the water. It swam right towards me, and I was kind of nervous. I'm like, whoa, what's this thing going to do? Come up here and, get territorial? No, it just swam right up. It jumped up, climbed itself up about 10 feet away from me, and it kind of stood behind a rock and looked over at the hillside. And I sat there looking like, what's chasing you? Sometimes it's bear. A buddy of mine got hit. He was riding his little scooter motorcycle down the mountain, and a bear was chasing a deer. That deer booked across the road, slammed him, and his little motorbike just took him out. He was injured for a couple of years after that one. It was a tough injury. I go real slow on these mountains at night in the early morning. You just never know. I've come around like a 55, 65 mile an hour corner, and then you come around and there's a giant bear that's been hit in the middle of the road. And if you didn't watch out, that just would have taken you out, your whole car, everything. You'd have been goner. 400-pound bear just blocking the road. That happened like 2 times last winter. So I was real cautious on some of these roads because you just don't know. I've hit a deer before and it's not fun. We got this blue heron here. He's a big, beautiful blue heron, but he makes some of the creepiest calls. I've come out here pitch dark, hour before light. Thumbs up, Elvis. Hey, hey. I was in watching your, you had a live with a panel. I think there was like maybe 3 of you talking the other week. And I didn't want to bump in. I just watch. Sometimes I just go in out fishing. I just watch people. Oh, missed that hit. Yeah, I like to watch sometimes and get a feel for people's shows. And they got good conversations, and I don't quite have anything. I don't have fish tanks, so I didn't know what to add. I just watched. Yeah, exactly. My dad used to have a bunch of saltwater tanks and stuff, and I was just watching. You guys were having a good conversation, so I was just listening. Just wanted you to know I was there. Yeah, when I was about 13, 14, my dad had a 200-gallon saltwater tank. A buddy of mine, it's kind of a intense dude, was getting rid of his fish. So I asked my dad, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll take them." And it was a trigger fish, a lionfish, and a moray eel. And that trigger fish was mean. He was a little mean dude. They all ate goldfish. And that moray eel was about 2 foot long, and he'd come out and eat about 2 or 3 goldfish. Yeah, I don't blame you. That salt water. My mom had like 3 saltwater tanks, and they were always cleaning stuff. It was such a mess when you'd have to like house sit for them. It was such a nightmare. They had these little shrimps in the freezer and all these weird things we had to feed in a very particular order. And it was like 6 things we had to do every day for their tanks. I was like, this isn't easy, Mom. House sitting for you is not fun. But that boy, that lionfish, boy, he was something else. We'd feed, that thing would eat so many goldfish. Yeah, I watched this guy. He's a kind of a news guy, car chase guy, and he did started his fish tank up about 6 months ago. And it's amazing, man. He spent a lot of money. And he just delve into it, and then it's go go go. After that, he changed it over 2 or 3 times, and it's like, oh, it's a serious hobby. Come on, fishy! I missed that one bite. I can get him. Got really big rainbow trout in here, average size, because they stock it as well. And then we got German browns in here, bass, catfish, little flatheads, nothing too big, like maybe 7 pound. I was fishing for trout yesterday right here, just testing out the spot, and threw a bobber out. I had a big old worm hanging out there and got a giant bass. I wasn't expecting that. Probably about 17 inches long, about 5 pounder. I was excited because I threw my bobber out. It was only about 10 feet away from the shore, and then all of a sudden bobber is gone. And I was like, huh. And I felt it, and it was a big fish. And I was like, all right. I thought it was a big trout, or if I was lucky, a big German brown. Yeah, I get that. I completely agree. I took a long time off, had started families, and just got into other things in life, businesses and travel and things. Took probably a couple decades off of fishing. It was a big part of my life when I was a younger person. And then from 20, probably mid-20s on, I just kind of stopped. I lived up in Oregon originally, so it was always salmon, steelhead stuff with the family. And then when I didn't live around the family anymore, it just wasn't quite the same. COVID happened, and I was like, well, I got nothing else to do. Let's go fishing. And then I started hanging out on fishing channels with such an amazing community. I just kind of wanted to show the people what I do. Yeah, exactly. I got a few businesses that I've run, so sometimes it's just you're busy with businesses or life. Come on, fishies. Yeah, the light's starting to come up nice. It's just had enough light to see here about 15 minutes ago. But really, ideally, I could start fishing about a half hour before I go live, and it'd be a better bite. But it's really dark. The camera doesn't pick up the view very well, and it just looks kind of strange. I've tried it with the light in the background or little glowy things on my pole. It just doesn't quite pick up as well. So I just kind of wait. Yeah, this is one of my favorite ways to start the morning. Just relaxing out here in the beautiful Mount Shasta wilderness. Mount Shasta is a pretty fun place to live. Small town environment. Not a lot goes on as far as excitement. But it's a safe, beautiful place. If you like the wilderness, if you like mountains and biking and fishing, then you can find plenty to do. But it's kind of like any other mountain community. It's got, we got snowy winters. It gets pretty intense during that time, and then, spring comes around. We got these, they're not really meadows up here. They're kind of alpine meadows, I guess, or smaller meadows. Which you can go hiking and do so many wildflower and bird identification experiences out in some of these amazing areas. I'm in Mount Shasta, California. That's about an hour from the Oregon border on the I-5 corridor. We have pretty extreme daytime to nighttime differences, about 40, sometimes 50 degrees difference between our daytime highs and our nighttime highs. So it's a really interesting place. If you get our summer, the hottest it usually gets is maybe 105, but then it'll get down to 60 at night, which is so nice because you open your windows or your doors in your house and it just cools everything. I lived in a lot of places like Southern California with my dad, and it just stays muggy and hot at night. Yeah, here it's just beautiful. We got a lot of freshwater springs here. We got one, and we call it the Headwaters. It's a big city park, and it's the headwaters of the Sacramento River, and it's a giant spring. And so people from all over the U.S. come in just to fill up their water bottles and big 5-gallon tanks. It's quite an experience. It's the best tasting, amazing water. The signs say that it takes 50 years for the water to percolate through Mount Shasta, but it starts off as snowpack 50 years ago, and it works its way through the mountain. And then eventually comes out this spring, and that doesn't have, no heavy metals or no interesting, like no lithiums or nothing weird in it that gives you side effects. So it's just great water. I'll do that. I'll do my best, Elfish. You take care of yourself. Take care of them tanks. I'll say hi next time I'm in, bud. Oh, my line. It's freezing out here, so it gets my line a little stuck. Let's get this going. Could be getting a hit already. Come on, fishies. Where you at, fishies? Fishies. Fish in Northern California for beautiful rainbow trout. Seeing what comes on the line. Come on, fishies. log that's going over my line. Log might have messed me up. Might be time to recast because of that. Oh yeah, you got me, did you, log? Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about that, log. All right, now I'm unstuck. Now I'm unstuck, but I got a rebate. Got a rebate. Yeah, got a rebate. Bouncer! Sup, buddy? Nah, no pollen. Foam, I guess. Foam. A lot of aeration goes on with the inlet just right up there. We had our pollen run here February. And then we'll get it again here with the cottonwoods and all those other ones. We had cedar pollen like you wouldn't believe a couple months back. Doug, good morning. Trying to slay them trout, mate. The bass are starting to wake up. Threw a worm in on a bobber last night right here. About maybe 3 weeks away or so. We had a real good rain the other day. It's about 3 days of solid rain, but it's still cold. So it's 27 degrees right now. So I think it's just a little bit too cold for this flush. Yeah, Doug, I threw a bobber out last night right here, 10 feet out from the shoreline. Had 3/4 of a night crawler on there. I was hoping to get a big trout. As soon as I threw that bobber out, it just disappeared. Wham! And I was like, all right, it was a good fight. I thought it was a big trout. Ended up being about a 5-pound bass. I'm not a big bass guy. It looks like a smallmouth. Put it on a short. So you guys just take a look at that short that I did and you'll see, you can tell me, I think it's a smallmouth bass. But yeah, it was about a 5. It was about 17-inch long fish. It looked to me like it was a female that was full of eggs. Because it had that same swollen little area that the eggs come out of, like the trout do. So I was like, all right. I had a feeling it was full of eggs because I caught a bass 5 years here, 6 years here ago. Yeah, 4 or 5 years ago. Same deal. Just massive fish, but it was totally full of eggs. Wow. Really strange. Us too. We were up at 75 degrees like 6 days ago. And then 2 days after that, we had a couple, 3 days in the 70s, 75s. And then bam, right back down to 40 for a high like the day after that. It's very bizarre. Very, very weird. I hope it stays cold for a little while and then slowly changes. About 4 years ago, we had a weird change went through. 3 years ago, it warmed up big time. All the trees blossomed, and then we had a cold spell for a week, and it killed off all the blossoms. So we had nothing that year. No walnuts, no nothing. Ooh. Well, that's cool. No frost, man. Yeah, see, I couldn't, Scotland, that sounds tough, man. I couldn't fish the last like 4 days because of that. That's what we had, just sideways rain. 35, 40 mile an hour winds with the rain. Fishy! Fishy, buddy. Hey, man, hope your trip's going well, brother. It's going great, man. Fishing, getting a few bites. Caught a massive bass right here last night. I was telling everybody about it. That was unexpected. I'm not a bass fisherman. Waiting to plant my potatoes, man. I got about 40 pounds of potatoes. Yeah, it's bizarre, man. I don't know. I'm a guy who patterns things, and I pay attention, and I've watched weather patterns all my life, and they had a certain predictability as I was growing up. For the last decade, it's just been all over the place. Yeah, I was thinking about that, Fishy. That's why they're vacations. They're not permanent, but it recharges the batteries, gets the spirit feeling good, a little freedom. Break a pattern. I'm gonna get that bobber going again. What the heck? Maybe I'll get that second rod. Yeah, like I was saying, I'm itching to get my potatoes out in the ground, man. Starting to get eyes on them all. I'm gonna section them out here soon. Yeah, except I'm not a big bass guy. That was the first. He seemed hungry. When I caught that big boy yesterday, it was all on accident, and I brought him in. As soon as I brought him into the net, as soon as I got ready to put him in the net, he spit up a fish that he was was kind of slightly in his stomach. This big, like little 5-inch long, little fingerling. So give me an idea of what he's eating. So I was like, all right. I brought a few little guys that look just like him. It was interesting to see, though. Come on, visuals. Yeah, it's always strange what works here and what doesn't. There was a guy fishing with me yesterday. He was in a little kayak, and he was just booking around this inlet, and he was throwing a Castmaster for hours straight. Just didn't get a single bite. I threw a spinner for a long time yesterday. I got not a nibble on it, but I caught a bunch. Whoa, yeah, the bass, they're waking up. Yeah, on these rivers we have up here in Oregon, especially, just north of me is Oregon, so it's weird. I was raised in Oregon, so I always consider myself an Oregonian still. But the Umpqua that I go to has smallmouth in it and stuff like that, and they want you to just destroy them, get rid of any smallmouth you ever catch, because they're hurting the steelhead and the salmon and the trout population there. And so it's definitely something. Ooh, that would be fun. A guy I caught yesterday, he took a little drag and he gave me an adequate fight, but nothing too crazy. I don't think he had a lot of energy in him, just maybe waking up out of hibernation or something like that. But but normally if I catch a bass, they put up a good fight. Yeah. That's about what I caught yesterday, about that range, about 4 to 5 pounder. I used to catch these little 2-pound bass, and they'd flip flop and they would pull and they'd give me an attitude. And I'd be like, yeah, it's on. But that guy was just kind of chill. Get a nibble. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I caught yesterday with smallmouth. What's that bird doing? It's giving me trouble. Almost landed on my line. Somebody's messing with me. Somebody keeps messing with me, giving me slack. Oh, yeah, this guy's interested. He's not taking it right, though. He's been chasing it in. Oh, he gave up. Probably ate my marshmallow. He got my marshmallow. I knew it. He was persistent. He wanted this worm. I was like 5 hits in a row. That's what he did to the worm. Almost got it off the hook. Almost got it off the hook. Any difference in the smallmouth, largemouth, like in the way they fight or anything like that? Or is it pretty much the same? They both look like a fun fish to catch. Come on. We'll get that guy. He was persistent. He kept chasing it in. I think the biggest trout I caught here was probably about a 7-pound trout. And that's what he did. He kept chasing that marshmallow in. He kept thumping it. Nice. All right. Biggest fights we get are the salmons in the river and things like that. You know, those things just tire you out, give you a half-hour struggle. Hour if it's a 70-pound fish. Yeah, I feel you. Interesting. That's what's happened with a couple of the catfish that I caught before. They just surrender. They're just like whatever, and that's it. I just feel like I got a big globule fish on the bottom, but I have no idea until I pull it up. But it just relaxes, and I can tell it's heavy. That's what that bass did yesterday. It was a small, pretty sure it was Smalley, and he just kind of chilled. He just said, "Whatever, you got me." Yeah, it's kind of one of the reasons I don't do the bluegill, sunfish, I guess you want to call them. I was watching some internet tutorials the other day to study the sunfish distribution throughout the United States, learning what we might have. And it looks like down south has a whole bunch of variations from Florida over through Louisiana and stuff, has a bunch of these interesting ones. And I was looking at trying to identify some of the bluegill we got here. Bluegill, kind of greenish kind of guys. They're not that fun to catch, man. I catch them on accident. And when they're here, it's annoying because they just are after my bobber, my worm, and I'm just like, man, I don't want this little 1/4 ounce fish. Yep. Yeah, I was talking with a guy about 4 years ago to River, and we were down there trying to slam the steelheads, and then he was talking about where he's from. Caribbean girl, hey Tony, thanks for stopping by and saying hi. We're fishing in Northern California, trying to get beautiful rainbow trout. And after talking to that guy up at the river, he told me that he was from the same town I was, and so we got to chatting about fishing here. And he's a bass fisherman, and he talks about coming out here and catching 90, 100 fish a day. And I believe it. I see the other bass fishermen here just endlessly, man. Ooh, yeah, there you go. That would make sense. Chop them right up. Hey, y'all got those bigger catfishes and stuff like that. I got the ocean that's not far away from me. I can go over there and try and catch some of them halibut. That'd be a fun one to do. Whole different kind of gear setup you need. Ocean stuff. Talking with my buddy. He lives down in Santa Cruz and they fish the pier and stuff like that a lot. And it's just, you know, saltwater gear. That saltwater is corrosive and stuff like that. It was really interesting to learn all about that because I got, you know, all my freshwater gear. We don't have to wash it down. That's smart. Seems like that's what the predatory fish want here. They want a minnow kind of little guy that's about 3 inches to 5 inches long. If I use the little fake guys, the gulp minnow kind of one, the little 2-inch guy, then I catch trout pretty much all the time on those, like regular little stocked rainbows. But if I use the bigger ones, pushing 4-inch kind of gulp minnow, little plastic looking minnow, that's how I've got some of these big German browns, the big bass. They'll hit on those too. Perch. Yeah, see, perch nor crappie. I don't think I've ever caught those. If I did, it was on accident. I didn't mean to. When I was living in Illinois. Those look fun. Sound fun. Yeah, that bass I caught last night, it looked like it would have been a good eater. You know, it had it was a thick fish. So for someone who likes to flay them, it probably would have been a good fish. I thought about release. I was like, oh, he probably would have kept that fish. Wow. Like I said, in a bunch of these areas around here, we have no limit on bass. It's just take as much as you want. Just help the river out, help the water source out. Trout fishing is what they really regulate a lot here in the state of California. There's all kinds of special rules for particular rivers. We can only fish from an hour before sunrise to an hour after sunset for trout. But you can fish all night long if you're fishing for catfish. Yeah, see, I haven't looked into the limit for like the gills and the panfish and a few of the other ones. I know the things they consider invasive, they want you to get rid of. Up on the Columbia River in Oregon, they have a bounty. I was trying to remember the name of the fish, but they'll pay you like $5 for it. And it messes with the salmon, it messes with sturgeon and stuff like that. And it eats their babies, eggs and little fries. Yeah. Yeah, there's interesting amphibian rules. We have weird rules about bows, shooting fish here with a bow is really interesting regulations. There's a handful of odd regulations. Of course we can't use nets here. I don't even know if we can get bait like people in Arkansas I see do. So I don't even know if we can do that. Wow. Yeah, that's what's, I don't know, I guess good and bad. If you're trying for another fish and then those bluegill are in your way, I'd be annoying. But if you're trying for the bluegill, it's fun. When I see them here and they're just sitting on every little thing and they're destroying my bobber, the worm that I got on there, just pecking it to death. It's perfect. I'll tell my business partner, I was like, oh, bring your boys out. I was like, because he's got a couple 2 or 3 underage boys under 16. You have no license needed here. And so I'll tell him, those little guys are biting like crazy. It's perfect time to get, young fishermen excited because you throw your bobber out and it instantly goes down. Just like trying a new spot. Burko, Burko, hey buddy. Well, I'm getting some bites, but nothing solid enough. I better go over here to make this cast. The braid of my line is doing that freezy thing I don't like. Yeah, Burko, it's beautiful here, mate. Northern California, about an hour from the Oregon border, so just a mountain town. Mama Cookie! Yeah, I was looking up your state fish for you guys. Fishy. I was looking up Wisconsin state fish. I was like, it's like a muskaloon or something strange. Muskie is the full name of the muskie. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Flower child. What? Oh, you got to pay for the fish you get? That's crazy. Yep. Muskaloonge. Muskaloonge? Loonge? I guess. Lunge? We got our counties get pretty wide up here, and they're pretty sparse. There's not a lot of population in these mountain kind of counties, and so we get up in here into sweet flower child. Yeah, so if I just go an hour to Oregon, then we got like these couple huge counties that are along the border. They go all the way from the ocean to the to Nevada side, and there is like one game warden that gets to patrol all those areas. So he gets to drive, 300 miles north and south, and about the same distance, maybe 400 miles east and west. That's one game warden we have. So it is very, very rare to see him out here. Brook trout, that's pretty cool. Walleye was the state in Minnesota too. Yeah, huh? That you guys must have a lot of brown trout then, man. That's really cool. We have the German brown strain of brown trout still up here. It's stayed pretty isolated, and some Rhine, something river it came from originally, and so they have predominantly majority of red dots on the brown trout we have here, like just a couple black brown dots, if you will, on them. And I look at a lot of other pictures, and they have the other European browns tended to have a lot more black spots on them, and they've kind of interbreed over time. Yeah, we have Brooks, we have the rainbow, and then we have the browns, and we have the cutthroat as well. And the cutthroats on the coast are really beautiful. The coastal cutthroats, man, that's a beautiful fish. Good looking fish. And we got this place about 3 hours from me called Pyramid Lake, and it's got the world's largest cutthroat trouts in there. Wow. Usually that's been my experience in the past with brown trout here, fishy. They're very difficult. They don't like anything that we target for the rainbows. The brown trout are predatory fish. Interesting. Yeah, we got a lot of weird little like sub varieties, I guess. We got like a Dolly Vartan trout that's around here. What they call it, the Lahontan cutthroat trout, close to me. we got this one called an Eagle Lake trout, and it's very different trout that lives. It was found only living in Eagle Lake, and it's incredibly alkaline water. So this trout has adapted to living in extreme alkaline water conditions. And so it's an interesting trout. It's big. Whenever I catch them here, I get excited. They have this gigantic red stripe that goes down the side of them. That's like an inch thick, and it's a huge red stripe. It's a beautiful looking fish, the Eagle Lake trout. On the outside, it's fun to catch, but as far as the eater goes, ooh, no thanks. It's probably one of the least favorite trouts I've ever come across to eat. Something about that. It adapted to that high alkaline water, and it just changed the whole consistency. Interesting. Yeah, see, I don't know gold belly or Loch Levin. That's cool. We get the golden trout. We like the real golden trout up here in like the Sierra Nevada mountains of California, and that thing's incredible. And then you get this tiger trout, they kind of call him, and it's a weird cross over in Utah. And some people call that thing golden, but he's not golden. Yeah, exactly. We got this weird char, I think, too. Maybe the Icelandic char. Sweet, I'll have to do that, Doug. I would like to do that, man. I think it's... I was trying to look him up. We got this really cool char that's been caught. I was looking at the different places he's been caught in California, and he's been caught here in this river real close to me in the past. We got bull trouts that are up in Oregon and Washington, and you know, most of those are protected. That's a strange looking fish. It's pretty big, you know. That one is one that's pretty rare as far as like, you're not supposed to target that fish. You're definitely supposed to let that fish go if you get it. So I don't see people talking about it, showing, and you know, having tutorials about what they use to try to catch a bull trout. You're really not supposed to catch them. Come on, let's see. How's this marsh holding up? This water rose a lot, so it's pretty murky out there. It's real mud puddle looking. See if that makes better. Yeah, the brooks we have here, very difficult to tell between your brook and your brown. They're so similar looking, those two fish. They just have this weird little squiggle. Yeah. Those are pretty much fish that I don't fish. Oh man, fishy. I'll have to time it right, man. Figure out when those things are coming. Take a long road trip. Come out and help you slam some of them salmon, buddy. Yeah, I wonder if it's like, you know, so many gyms. Hey, I wonder if it's what you were raised on. You know, I was raised on the trout, basically the mackerel family, smelt, salmon. Heck yeah, me too. I think it's a good idea. I'm that way when fishy. I'm that way about stone collecting. I go out digging, and I probably dug about 50 different types of stone. And so I cross them all off my list. I'm like, oh, okay, I got azurite, I got some malacola, I got chrysocolla. I've gotten, you know, so many endless stones. That's my big thing, man. The smelt are coming in like crazy right now up in Oregon on the Sandy River. Yeah, mackerel. They're just coming in like crazy, man. And so I ate a ton of smelt. I don't really know about eating mackerel, to be honest with you. I thought about it a little while ago. I'm not sure if I've actually had it. Cooketta! And so, I know the mackerel family, that family of fish is what pretty much everything that I eat from. Ooh, yep. That's what we're a couple hours from the coast, and so the coast has a bunch of these beautiful, like little butcher shops. They're just teeny little guys, and they'll sell like the best fish you can imagine. And it's always like, catch of the day, that kind of deal. And so they work with a bunch of the local fishermen. And so, if you're lucky enough, you can be by these coastal towns, you go by those places, you'll get the best fish you can get. Ooh, yep, exactly. Yeah, I went to a small, I was lucky enough to have a bass phase living with my dad. Like I said, I've never caught mackerel, so that'd be a fun one. Sounds like they can really vary, Doug. I know we get that issue with salmon and steelhead, and so it'll be an interesting year that year for the salmon or the steelhead, and they'll come back into the river, and they'll be kind of undersized. Or let's say the hatchery that raises them, they just happen to have a genetic stock that is kind of a smaller fish. So then they breed, 800,000 of these kind of smaller guys. Yeah. I'm about 5 hours away from the Columbia River, and that's where those monster sturgeons are. Those ones that have been known to get upwards of 24 feet. And so, maybe in the next few months, I've been chatting with this guy named Andrew, and he's from about 3 hours north of me up there in Oregon. Yeah. That's the thing about sturgeons, is they're a beer batter fried up kind of fish. Well, that's really cool, man. That's really cool, Doug. That's my kind of fish. I like them. When I go up to these little creeks, there's nothing but wild trouts and stuff, but they don't get that big. And when I catch them and I get a little 8 to 10-inch fish, I appreciate the beauty of it, but I'm not going to eat it. I don't want to hurt the fish population of these tiny little creeks and stuff. They're fun to catch, but I'll let them go. If I want to eat a good fish, I come here. It's hard because I can catch big fish here to eat. So I don't feel right about eating these little guys, but they're probably the most colorful, beautiful trout I've seen in my life. I'll probably go up there at the end of April. We can start fishing the streams legally. And so I doubt I'll get reception. I may get reception. We'll see. So I'll probably just do a GoPro long form video, show everybody. Bass seem like it's just like the most common game fish that I see. Everybody loves catch bass. Everybody loves catch bass. All right, we're gonna switch techniques up. Let's see what we can get. Maybe we catch bass. Oh, my marshmallow came off. That wasn't gonna get me nothing. Oh, it's cold here, man. I got my electric jacket on. It's still cold. Yeah, Doug, I mean, some of the most beautiful fish I've ever encountered. Salmon are amazing for their size and all the things that they are, and steelhead as well. But you want to talk about a beautiful fish. something about the native, the native stock, the native gene. I can only imagine the native browns. Where you guys are just must be so beautiful. All right, gonna get my bobber ready. Fish here get a little peculiar. So, ooh, that's a big worm. I only tend to catch the big fish with big bait. It's kind of goes hand in hand. The big fish don't really seem to want anything small. Get it? When I get hungry, I want a burger. I want a burger. I don't want a little mini slider. That's probably how the fish are. They're like, yo, it's time to eat. It's not time to play around. This line is frozen. My reel of my braided line in. It's wet and it gets frozen. Doesn't want to cast. Doesn't want to go out. Doesn't want to do anything. Right. Get back to chat. Interesting. Interesting. Must be a competition-based thing, I wonder. Just keeps all the other, allows a handful of fish to have access to all the food source or something. I was mentioning about the broodstock program because it really helps. The hatcheries have the best genetics. Cool. Thank you. I think I'm back. Yeah, I had to switch my mic, zip my coat up. Sweet. Yeah, so you kind of get that. You get that feedback loop. Just about any system that you're dealing with, you reach a point where there's no more expansion, there's no more anything. The town I live in here, Mount Shasta, they reached that a long time ago, and the water system, it's overtaxed. The sewer system, it's overtaxed, and so there's no more expansion, and so there's really no ability for new homes to be built. So we have 100 or more in a very small little town that we live in, 100 or more vacant lots. and they're really decently priced for what a lot is. And some out-of-town developer might be like, "Oh, great! Well, I'm gonna come here, put a little apartment, such and such." But since we had such a lack of ability to expand, they did this thing where they made these permit fees to hook up to the water system, for example, or the sewer system, like $30,000 fee to hook up a new line to the sewer system. $30,000 if you want water. Yeah. So to keep people from wanting to build a new anything here, they just decided, well, that's what we'll do. And so for true expansion, they need to gut it and change the whole entire sewer system and the water. And you're talking, 25 million or so. And it's just, the money just isn't available. So the town I'm in has hit its limit a long time ago, and it just can't expand. So I imagine any water source would be like that. If you got 100 fish that are fighting for the limited amount of food, they're going to stay fairly small. But if you got 5 fish in there that eat all that food, they're going to become 5 pretty big fish. We had a fire. We got. There's 2 other towns, one south and one north of me. There's both 6 miles apart. The one that's just north of me, Weed, California, had a fire in about 2013, and it burned about half the town, and so a lot of the residents got displaced, and so they all took up all the available rentals and other homes that were around here. And ever since then, it's been just like a terrible housing shortage here. So Alan, sweet, glad you're here, bud. And so then there's also this real big issue with a lot of homeowners up here are they use their properties for short-term rentals, for Airbnb, because it's a spiritual tourism and a mountain tourism place, and so you can rent your big house out for $400 or $500 a night if you got some of these big homes. And so a lot of the long-term rental places were taken off the market and turned into short-term rentals. And it is really had a huge effect on the community here. Because they took a couple hundred homes that were previously long-term rentals and got rid of them. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, man. That's probably the biggest dilemma. And then California's had a bunch of issue with fires, and so insurance companies have just dropped people. The guy who owns the building we rent from my company had the hardest time. He had to try it about 30 different places, and he finally found one that was willing to insure him. And but they just won't insure anything anymore in these parts of California because of the fire issues. Then they'll charge you like an unbelievable amount of money. This is a river that comes in, Alan, and it's a decent-sized creek that comes in over here and hits this lake. And so I'm in the currenty part of the lake where the water comes in. Yeah, exactly, Jen. I mean, it's tough. And some of these fires were so fast. It's one called Paradise Fire. I'm in California, Northern California, by the Oregon border. So we had a fire about 2 hours south of me that just whipped through, and it just destroyed everybody's stuff so fast. It was they lived in like a weird slot canyon, and so the way the fire just whipped down and through was devastating. So that's our thing, every few years when a fire is coming, we sit there and watch it, and you're constantly glued to Cal State. You're Yeah, that's why I'm oh yeah, San Fran sure has changed. That's why I throw my bobber out there. I throw the bobber out there in that current and it just drifts right on by. And you got these beautiful fish that are just hanging out, looking up river, waiting to catch something floating by. Right now the water is kind of mucky. It's kind of dirty. So I've been having better success bottom fishing with a marshmallow because I think they can see that white marshmallow. Maybe get a little bit of something on this rod. I miss going to San Francisco. Changed a lot. It used to be, it's about 4 hours from me here. That's all. I used to live in Portland as for most of my young adult life. And San Francisco was always a vacation stop. Just somewhere to go see some concerts, go hang out for the weekend. It's just changed so much. It's the safety issues. I've known a handful of people have gone and gotten their car windows broken in, and it just takes away from the, oh, let's go to San Francisco and let's go to the wharf and get some good seafood or something. If it's a safety risk now, it really makes you think twice. All right, let's get these big fish. Caught any fish this morning. Yeah, I bet it would, man. And the cool thing about those marshmallows is you can just soak them. So you go buy yourself some mini marshmallows, a little $2 bag of mini marshmallows. And if you know carb like particular things like corn, then I get the sweet corn scent. It's a little fish add-on scent guy, and I get the sweet corn, and that's what makes the difference, man. I watch people out here all the time, and they're not catching nothing, and I'll throw my stuff right out there and slam. It's fish after fish after fish. So it's not only the marshmallow, but it's that corn. They don't sell it in too many bait shops. I got to buy it online. But I was thinking you can just do your own. You can just kind of like get a nice can of sweet corn, kind of condense it down, toss some marshmallows in there. Yeah, that would be sad. Oh, sorry for mom. Yeah, exactly. You got to get some fresh air. You got to have. I don't know. I was taught to be proud of the place you come from, and it's hard. That's what I've seen. It's like every little thing I've seen, all these Walgreens, all these pharmacies, all these little stores, Safeways that we have for grocery stores, all these things have left the San Francisco neighborhoods. And I was like, well, where the older people who just, that's their store, that's their food. What are they going to do? They're, and the community people that live there. So I was kind of sad to see this. They won't arrest you, so let's just go steal as much as we want. Mentality that happened in San Francisco. Oops. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. I lost my mom a while ago. So I understand. Ooh. Yo, Wild 7. Yeah, our world has shifted in so many weird ways. It's interesting. Yo, Andrew, glad you're in the house, man. I was just talking sturgeon. I was just talking Columbia River. It really was. It was, The sad thing I see a lot of times in any scenarios is people just want someone or something to blame. You know, a long time ago when we had these terror attacks at 9/11, they blamed, you know, they blamed a certain group of people. So, you know, if you looked that particular way, then you were passed judgment on, and it was very sad. And my family's Native American, but always had him kind of a dark skin look. My dad looked like, you know, he could be half black man, half Mexican. And so he got a lot of prejudice growing up in Portland, Oregon. He had to live on the other side of the tracks, and he couldn't date certain girls. And, you know, certain girls weren't allowed to associate with the boys from that part of town. And it was just rough. So it's really nice to see a lot of that stuff go away. You know, my family, I had to keep the Native aspects hidden for well over probably 100 years. It was out of all the different people that would get judged, you know what I'm saying, and just not fit in society because for whatever reason they didn't like you. The Native was the worst of all. If you said that you were Native, then they just really treated you bad. And so for the longest time, everyone on both sides, my mom and my dad's family, they just always kept that quiet. Just never told anybody who you were and where your bloodline was. Yeah. I don't look at the past for any reason or excuse to behave a certain way. The past doesn't really predicate your future. You choose. You choose the reality you wish to live in. You choose the future you wish to create by your actions right now. If you want to blame the past, you want to blame others' actions. I was talking about it a while back. It's like we don't have sins of the father in this country. You're not punished for something somebody else in your lineage did. And so make the best of your life. Don't look for an excuse to be a failure. Blame somebody because you didn't succeed. Yeah. One of my exes loved to watch those Twilights. They're all right. The fishing's adequate so far, man. I caught a big bass here last night, though, Andrew. Yeah, we got to confab about when sturgeon season is, man. Figure out when that is. I'll get my butt up there. Columbia River's only about, 5 hours from me, man. Yeah, I like Seattle. Skipjack, Cindy, hey, fishing for life, yo. Nice to have you all in. Yeah, I didn't. That was, I watched a lot of that stuff. I watched Glee because one of my partners. And, after, ooh, that was a nice fish jumping. I got to admit, after about a season of Glee, I started getting into it. And I was like, oh, all of a sudden, you tolerate that stuff because your partner's got it on at night and you're hanging out in the bedroom. And all of a sudden you're like, well, this isn't half bad. I didn't tell anybody at the time, but this Glee show wasn't so bad. Yes, fishing for life, I do. Come on, big fishes, we got to get them. Come on, fishes. I got night crawlers pretty much. I got night crawler and a marshmallow on the bottom there. Sure looked fun and beautiful where you guys were fishing, hanging out with Cindy and those guys. Gorgeous place out there. Imagine it's hard to want to leave, buddy. You know, I did the Trout Magnus for a while here. Yeah, we can't net fish here, boy. You get big trouble. You get a net anywhere near water besides you having a fish on your hook, you can get big trouble here. I don't think I've caught the pink before, Andrew. Huh? I don't think I've caught the chum. No chum. I don't think I've caught the sockeye either. A chum salmon looks kind of fun. Oh, heck yeah, Jen. Come on, fishies. If you're native out here, you're allowed to on certain reservational areas that give you your permission to net. It's kind of different fishing. They have salmon regulations for the general people, and then the tribal people have their own rules on tribal land, and one of those is to net. So in a tribal sense, that was me bumping that tribal setter. They can do it totally different. Yeah, so many. That's the cool thing, though, is get to experience it, get to watch it. I've been fishing trout and these kind of fish my whole life. Yeah, that is kind of a weird exception for the smelt. Ooh, yeah, huh? My daughter, my daughters we're really close, and she doesn't enjoy the hard part of fishing. She doesn't like seeing a fish die. She doesn't like seeing a fish get cleaned, and so that's the hardest part with that. I really can't get her to come out. Yeah, I can imagine. We can net smelt, and they're running like crazy up in the Sandy River right now. I was watching a guy talk about that the other day, and so that's where we would go as a young boy. It's the Sandy River, which is subshoot, comes off the Columbia River up in Portland, and they're running like crazy up there. So that's the thing, is you take your little your handled net, if you will, not a cast net. I liked smelt, man. I was raised on it. We'd clean that puppy up, and we'd just coat it in seasoned flour, kind of like we do a fried chicken. Yeah, exactly. My daughter's become spoiled with really good fish. Her boyfriend will be like, "Oh, let's go to a nice restaurant." She doesn't really like steak. She'll eat chicken and things like that. And she's like, "Oh, let's go to a good steakhouse." And he's like, "They serve fish." And she's like, "Oh, really?" And she's been spoiled with real fresh fish her whole life. And so I'm like, "Well, no, there's real high-end, seafood restaurants you can go to." And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Yeah, they'll have fresh catch of the day, and their salmon and everything else is as fresh as the stuff I've caught you." So she got a little spoiled with that. But I've been blessed. She's 18. My daughter is, and she always had a good attitude. She would try something, and then she'd make an opinion about it. Some of my friends' kids, "Ooh, I don't like that." Have you tried it? No, I just don't like it. And it's like, well, how do you know? But my daughter was great. She's got a really good palate. She loves, Indian food. Indian food and Thai food are two of our favorite. I've learned to cook fairly decent Indian food and Thai food because there's not a lot of good restaurants here. And after a while, I'm like, I'm missing my Navratan Korma and that kind of stuff. So I studied it and figured out how to make this really good Navratan Korma. Make a good Penang curry. I'll make my own Penang curry with salmon in it. Yeah, oh man. Goat curry, huh? That might be interesting. I lived up in Portland. We had this place called Horn of Africa. It was one of the best restaurants I ever had. And oh man, I don't know what these African dishes are, but they're so good. I mean, they were always eating the vegetarian ones. I wasn't eating. They'd have that big goat. They'd have this big giant like turkey leg looking thing. They'd have the big pot of all these weird looking dishes. Yeah, Mall of America. Yeah, the curries, man. Oh, they're so good. I really learned. I'm more of a red curry. I'm not the biggest fan of like the yellow curries. Green curries are okay, but I've studied them, and it takes a while, man. I really got impressed with Indian cooking and cuisine, and study some of the traditional stuff. They have like a lot of times they'll have two sinks in the kitchen, one simply for vegetable preparation and stuff like that. Yeah. On my mom's side, we had a few little weird things. French, Irish, Swedish. She'd always make us sing this little song, and it was really cute. And but no, I love good ethnic food. Moroccan food is amazing. Nepalese food is incredible. I'd go to more African restaurants if they're around, man. Yeah. That's the other side I have as a Filipino. My grandma was old little Filipino lady on my dad's side, little 4 foot, probably 5 lady. Uncle Rudy and all these guys are all Filipino. And Philippines, when I studied it, had kind of 2 different realities. You had the native people from the Philippines, and then you had the Chinese that came in later on and occupied it. So you had kind of 2 descendants, and we descended from the native Philippine line. My grandpa was the native. So my grandma was Philippine and my grandpa was pure native, and he was kind of a bad guy. And so a lot of natives were pretty messed up. So grandpa got kind of kicked out of the family, and I never really got to associate with grandpa after I was about 4 or 5. So I never really got to know him, learn much about his history. He was just kind of a bad guy. Unfortunately, a lot of the real native people had bad problems with alcoholism and then other weird deviant behavior. Grandpa was one of them, and he was ostracized from the whole family for being a bad guy. Nice. That's a cool mix. Yeah, I got the Philippine, and then a lot of Lakota almost 50% Lakota, then the Philippine, and then some other mixes, a little French, a little Irish, and Swedish. My mom's side, that kind of stuff. My ancestry, woman married a French trapper, and had to change her name, kept her native side hidden for a long, long time. I'll re-rig this up. I'll come check chat in a second. Yeah, through my mom's side, I grew to be about 6 foot tall. But I remember having a family reunion when I was 13, and a lot of the Philippine side were there. I was the tallest man out of like 30 guys. I was 6 foot at that time, towering over all my cousins, my uncles, and everybody else like that. It was hilarious seeing the whole Philippine side there. My sister took after grandma. She's a little short, Philippine looking, got more of the white skin, but got that little Filipino body. This is a bass hunter here. Let's see if I can get this thing to work. Let's see if I can get this thing to work. Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's my grandma, my sister. Matthew, chaos, yo. Heck yeah, bouncer. Yeah. Once on my side, she brought in some more height, more. Whoa, getting hit on that. You guys see that? Oh man, my marshmallow's off. Missed him. I was that close. That was a good hit. I just put on this giant, little fake fish guy. See if we can get one of these big predatory fish to hit. Bouncer. Yeah, I'm uncertain about that June thing, because I watched a few YouTubes, and this one gal was twins, and her and her sister both sent in, and they got completely different results. And so I was like, what? They sent them into a couple different companies, and they came back giving them both just a whole different list of who they are and what they are, and they're twins. And it's like, come on. Yeah. On the coast of Oregon, and especially Washington, we would occasionally get these Japanese floats, and they were drift net glass orbs, and they'd usually be blue, sometimes green, and that was always like one of the coolest things you could get if you were lucky. Always great getting a seashell and everything else, but if you could get one of those glass orbs, it was like one of the coolest things you could get, man. Just big, beautiful. Some, 6 inches around was usually the smallest, up to like a basketball size. Yeah, those glass floats. So you know what I'm talking about. And so we would get them on the coast of Washington, and they would come in all the time. We'd stay in Long Beach, Washington, as a young boy, in our beach cabin we had there. I loved those. That was the you get one a year if you were lucky. If you were like a beachcomber. Oh, this thing throws way out there. Yeah. Yep. That's why I'm just south of Oregon now. And I got tired of the lack of sun. It wasn't the cold or the rain, because it's cold here. But it's just sometimes you won't see the sun much when you're living in Oregon. And depends on the kind of person you are. But for me, I thrive on sun. And that seasonal depression was serious. Yeah. There's so many different places you could be in the US. It's so big. I've lived in Colorado's. Yeah. It was a mossy, wet environment growing up. It's just what you did. There was a few places where they had these amazing hot springs. One of them was called Bagby Hot Springs. And you go out there and you camp, spend about a week, and it was like a rainforest. Yep. And so I'd go camp out there because I'd love to go, to that hot springs and stuff like that. And you'd sign up, and no matter what time of year you went, it was this rainforest, weird forest we have up here, and they're like a cloud forest. And you'll watch clouds actually just being created. Yep. All right, Andrew. Take care, buddy. We'll keep in touch, man. I want to definitely come fish with you in the next few months, mate. And so after about a week of trying to do your best to survive, got a stick or I got something snagged this thing. Everything you got would just start to mold and go and get destroyed. And so it's weird when you live in these like really moist places like that rainforest I'm telling you about, the coniferous rainforest. That's just wet cloud forest. I have not seen. I've been curious about the Sasquatch. I got a friend who said he saw one, and I believe him. And he's a great guy. We've done tons of stuff together, but I have not yet. I haven't been afraid of the forest since I was about 12 years old. I remember like when I was like 6 or 8 and be camping, and I'd run back from the bathroom to the tent and stuff like that. When I was about 12, all of a sudden something just shifted, and I was like, "Hey, nothing out here to be scared of." And I'm smart about bear and cat, but I'm not scared of anything. And so I've been like, all right, let's see this Bigfoot. He's never showed himself to me. So I go out. I have an off-road motorcycle. It's got a license on it, so I can ride it from my house. But I can go into the deep, deep, deep woods. Now I stopped being scared a long time ago. I realized that I'm a eternal being of light that's just spending some time in this body as a human, and that after this human existence, I will continue on. And so once I kind of got to that point, I realized that what's there to fear? If you like peel the onion, you kind of keep going deeper. What am I scared of? What's this fear? Blah, blah, blah. It usually always boils down to fear of death. So then I came to the point of saying, well, there's nothing to fear in that. I'm just going to move on. It's just a transition. Energy can never die. It just takes another form. No Army. Yo, Shy Talk. I thought about it. I had a bunch of relatives that did, and policemen as well. In my community, and the natural kind of people, we hang out and we do a lot of camping and stuff in the woods. Everyone's encouraged to volunteer their services. I usually volunteer between doing medic work and policing, because I worked in hospitals for years, and I also had a lot of friends. So that's the way that those little gatherings will work, is bringing the talent you're good at out in the real world. And then a whole bunch of us gather in the woods and we just try to celebrate and play music and cook food, enjoy each other's time. You're just kind of encouraged to do whatever you do out there and to survive. What are your talents? Bring them there. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I wanted hard experiences like that. You know, my dad talked to me about what it was like, because we had a real big sports family. You know, incredible pedigree. My dad would have been an Olympic champion if he would have been trained right. He jumped 23 feet in a long jump. 23 feet as a 17-year-old boy. He jumping 23 feet in long jump, man. Yep. Yeah. National Guards. My uncle served in the Army as well. But my dad, and this is 1965, my dad was jumping 23 feet in a long jump. And so the Carl Lewis, you know, was only jumping like 4 more feet to set like the world Olympic records and stuff. So my dad was just a few away. My dad was never trained by anybody. He just had that natural gift. And so we've always been like physically gifted in anything, any sport we can do really well. My dad was like, boxing though. When he was in the Army, he did some Golden Glove stuff, and he's like, oh, that was ridiculous, man. He's like, don't do that. Yep. I believe it, Chaos. Heck yeah, that sounds fun, Jens. Yeah, I have too strong of an attitude myself. I couldn't get beat down. Number one, being yelled at, I'd have snapped. You can call me names, yell at me, tell me drop and give you 20. I'm gonna tell you drop and give me 20. And I had too much of an attitude. I realized that. My mom hated that in me. She's like, you never do anything I tell you. I'm like, of course not. I don't believe in what you tell me to do. Yeah. Wow. Wow, that would have been really cool, Chaos. Yeah, so my whole family line, it's just been that way. And so I was so blessed. Like any sport I've ever tried. I mean, I had buddies who were really good at racquetball. And I'm like, oh, I'll come play this with you. And I just whooped their butt. They're like, how long have you been playing this? I'm like, it's my first time playing. They're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, I'm just really good at about any sport I ever play. But I didn't. My dad had this competitive edge that was just unbelievable. And he just had this. He was that way with board games, monopolies. I mean, you never beat my dad at anything. You'd never beat him at anything. He was just so good. And that's just the world he came in, came from. He was, he made his mark in a certain way, being competitive, and he wouldn't back off, man. Yep. I never beat my dad at basketball. I don't even know when I got older if I ever beat him. And that was just the way it is. My dad would be in his 50s and we'd go to the court, and then all these young guys in his 20s, my dad would make them so angry because he was a serious basketball player. And he would, he'd just go over there and he would tell you, it was like Larry Bird. He'd tell these young kids what he's going to do. Oh, I'm going to hit this shot. I'm going to do this. And he'd just go and smoke them. They'd get so mad at him and he'd just laugh. He'd make the most ridiculous circus trick shots you'd ever seen in your life. And they would be like, how'd you make that? And But when I talked to him, I'm like, "Oh, how'd you get this good?" He's like, "Oh, I practice." You know, like how much? "Oh, 4 or 5 hours a day, every day for 5, 6 years." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, no. Yeah, huh? Wow, mama. That's crazy. So yeah, when you have that in you, I didn't have the competitiveness. My dad wanted me to be on teams, but he didn't want to push me. And so uh, my daughter joined a lot of teams, and I found myself pushing her because if I pushed her, man, she would just become the most amazing kind of whatever, the pitcher or basketball player, whatever she was doing at the time. Oh wow, that sounds cool, Jens. Yeah, my dad had this couple like shoe boxes full of his awards and his trophies and things like that, and his little ribbons and his first place ribbons. And he had them. He was really, really insane at track and field, and so he had probably about 300, 400 awards, ribbons, first place, all state. He was all state in every sport. And as growing up, I always wanted them, and they eventually let me have them. And they just covered half my wall when I was like 10. It was just endless first place ribbons. And I would talk to him about it, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I was just gifted." And so I wouldn't train, and so it'd be like he'd be on the track and field club, and he'd be hanging out under the bleachers, macking on some girls, just hanging out like that. And then it'd be time for the meet where they'd all have to compete against each other. My dad would just destroy everybody, and these guys are over there like practicing and training for 3, 4 hours a day. My dad's name was Danny. And Danny'd come along, and they'd be like, "Danny, I hate you." And they're like, "You don't train one single bit, and then you come out here and just beat us every time." My dad would just be like more interested in chasing the girls, but he'd win every single time. Wow. My dad got this one award for never missing a day of high school. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I hung out in the party crowd, and it was lucky to go a week and not miss a day. But I'm like, you went 4 years. My daughter kind of took after him. She like, it was like ninth grade or whatever. She didn't miss a single day. She got an award for not missing a day. And she would be a little sick, and she'd be like, "Nah, I want to go to school." Yes. And Drew, I'm still trying to catch something. It's been ridiculous, man. I came over here. So I was worried about it. I came over here, and I kind of found where the fish were at the last 2 days. And I'm like, "Oh, maybe I overfished them. Give them too much pressure." Yeah, the Hanks did. Yeah, my daughter was such a social girl that school was just probably the most important thing to her. And I was just like, "Girl, you can take a day off." I see. She was raised the natural way. We had a home birth with her, and everything was super natural. And so she's never been given immunizations. And she's the healthiest kid that I know. She gets sick about every 3 years. She'll get a small little cold, and that's it. And she's just strong. Yeah, exactly. Wow, Alan, that's a trip. Yeah, and so I always believed in everything that I did, but I was like, "Oh, the proof will be in the pudding as time goes by." And I paid attention to a lot of my daughter's friends, and my business partner has 5 kids. They're sick all the time, and they just go into a doctor and slap them up with some antibiotic or this or that, and everyone raises their children differently. And I was like, just watching. I was like, proof will be in the pudding. Pay attention to your immune systems and how your child functions in the world. My daughter has like this rock solid immune system. Part of this world we live in is that we're subject to what everyone else tells us. You know, that issue we had with the C-19 was one where everyone's just telling you one thing and everyone wants to believe it. The masses had a certain belief, and the prejudice that came with it, trying to blame people from where it came from and all these things, was just tough. And that's what gets really difficult for this world we live in, is because you want to believe these authority figures for this is what to do to be healthy. But I've come to the point of making sure you kind of research where your information is coming from. If it's something that's going to help promote a company or make a vaccine company real rich, then maybe second guess that study that they say they're giving you. For me, you know, if people have some exorbitant tale of seeing Bigfoot or something like that, I'll do the same thing. Is there a book? Is there something they're trying to sell? Are they trying to sell you their website? Are they trying to sell you their cool book because they communicate with Bigfoot? If there's something to be sold behind the study or somebody's big claim, then I might second guess it. It seems like there's alternative motives. Wow, bouncer. Yeah, I've been watching some of these fish jump. They're testing me today. I've been throwing this big weirdo out, whatever the heck you want to call this thing. Fish with a hook. I've been throwing this thing out. He's like some weird little guy I saw in my tackle box. That bass yesterday spit out a fish about this size. So I was throwing that out. That didn't work. I don't know. I got ice all over my rods. It's so cold. The fish aren't too happy right now. Yeah, I feel you there. The out-of-state fishing licenses can be really crazy, and I haven't gotten my Oregon fishing license. I haven't gone up there this season because of that. It's like going to cost me a little over $200 to get all my out-of-state fishing stuff for Oregon. It's just like, wow. Sometimes, you know, when I plan a bunch of trips up there, it makes sense. But this year I didn't have a bunch planned, and I've been talking with Andrew about going up, and so I'm going to have to go get my Oregon stuff again. But it's like, really? You guys charging me so much money? It's ridiculous. And then I was looking at going doing a small trip to Nevada, doing one to Utah to go fishing. So it's like I'm going to end up needing like 3. Those I might just get like the temporary week-long license. Those still cost you about $50. You can do the same thing in Oregon. You can get a week-long license. But if I know I'm only going to be doing one small trip, I'll do that. But if I'm going to be going like 5 or 6 times to Oregon, it makes sense to just buy the full license. Balance there. Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. I worked in the hospital for years, and it was interesting, I tell you. I worked in a pharmacy. I was a pharmacy technician, so I worked in different aspects. Oh, that was terrible. Terrible cast. My lines all froze. When I worked in the critical care unit, the ER, if you will, of the hospital, that one was a fun unit, and those were emergency scenarios where someone's getting a heart operation and this and that, and the pharmacist would holler at me, have me make something real fast, some kind of IV drug, because he needs it for the procedure. And he books in there, for some weird reason, you felt like you're part of the operation, because this drug that you just made up goes into their body, 30 seconds later. Action as I wanted to get. Yeah, that sounds fun, Andrew. Washington, I'll have to get another out-of-stater. Another out-of-statey. This will be the year of the temporary fishing licenses for me, man. But I love Washington. Bought a home outside of north of Spokane, up a little place called Hunters, Washington. It's by Colville. It was about an hour from the Canadian border in Washington. Oh, yeah, the fish stripped that thing right off. That was a blast. Yeah, working in the hospitals are interesting, huh? Yeah, they got some really cool natural things. I know a few people around here that have done a really great job of battling their cancers with a lot of natural kind of remedies. And there really is some powerful things that don't they don't cost a lot, and so they're not really pushed by the Western medical machine, if you will. That's kind of more designed. The Western Medical Society will treat anything out there. You can come into any hospital and they'll treat you, but they only cure 40% of things, and that includes bones that have been broke. So when you're talking, when people come into hospitals, they will treat you for everything, but they only cure 40%. So that gives you an idea of actual fixing things. But they'll for your whole lifetime, they'll sell you medicine, but you'll never be cured of it. I just tell people to not give their power away. Don't let yourself get labeled by somebody else. Yeah, we had a beach cabin in this cool little town called Oysterville, Washington. It's by Long Beach, and it was an oyster bed place, and so it was just full of oysters. I'd sneak around, walk through those oyster beds. I would never mess with them. They're kind of sharp, which is pretty to see, though. Parents and all them people love those things. They're gross. Interesting, bouncer. Yeah. I eventually came to a realization that the hospitals were a place where people came to die. And that's kind of what I saw. Made it very difficult for me to work there anymore. And so I just started getting nervous. I'd be holding my breath. I'd have to ride these elevators with some patient, and I'd hold my breath during the elevator. This was like, the end of the 90s, early 2000 too. So it just kind of got to you. Oh man, you can eat them all for me, Andrew. No thanks, man. Ooh, my cousin would just slurp those things down, and I would almost get sick just watching him eat those things, man. Oh no diagnosing ever. That's the whole thing. In the medical world, you can't diagnose unless you have a license. And so things can be said that they're good for their nutritional value, but claiming any medical any medical standing for that this and that other thing will happen. As far as guarantee from a plant world, it's difficult. And then a human, you really can't diagnose unless you have a license. So I've been in environments where we've had a lot of nurses there, and out in these camping environments, we're all hanging out, and they've tried to get the nurses in trouble before, because you got a nursing license for the state that you're licensed to practice medicine in. But if you're in another state hanging out with people, and then they'll trick you to try and diagnose, so they will get on the radio and say, "Oh, we got a sick person over here, and then what should we do for him?" And then they're always like, "Oh, bring him over here and we'll take a look at him, we'll treat him." And they're like, no, just tell us what's wrong with them. And they're trying to get them to diagnose over the phone or over the radio. And any trained RN is like, "No, I can't do that. I'm not authorized to diagnose." I got a buddy here who's into the morels, and he eats a couple 100 pounds of morels a year now. He dries them. He tries to eat nothing but stuff he's grown and the wild crafted things. And by having the morels as his main staple, he's been able to eliminate a bunch of the medicines that he was on. And he swears that, like, when you kind of realign your system to eating these natural mushrooms as your main food source, it just kind of like rewires your body. And then you won't, for him, he doesn't need a lot of those things that the doctors were making him take for his whole life. And so he like I said, the proof's in the pudding is where I like to say it sometimes. And he swears by the morels. He swears by what happens when you stop eating processed foods and things that are sold to make money, and you eat things that are directly come from the earth. And he looks really nice. He's a real healthy gentleman, and he's always happy. He's always gleaming, got a twinkle to his eye. So proof's in the pudding. He looks pretty darn good. I don't want this to be a skunk day. We got to do something against one of these fish. Fish are out here. I keep seeing them jump. I know they're out here. Wow. Yeah, okay. I feel you, brother. You'll be out soon, man. It'll warm up. Yeah, I used to go mushroom hunting. Oh, yeah. See, we're going to get snow tonight here too, Chaos. So I feel you. Used to living up in Oregon. I was telling you about going by this Bagby Hot Springs. I went out there with some friends who were mycologists, and we found some lion's mane. This thing was massive, about the size of a beach ball. This was a huge lion's mane. This thing had to be 2 foot across from the stump that it was growing on. It had to go out, 15, 20 inches, and then like about 2 foot round. And it was just this humongous fishy, this humongous mushroom, man. And that lion's mane, it was the most beautiful thing, just growing in this natural environment. It looked like a lion's head just growing off this log, man. It was just a work of art. They were excited because they're like, "Oh yeah, we come back, and you just get a heck yeah, Shy. Oh, that sun is gently coming up over the back." Yeah, that lion's mane was really nice. Yeah, I've been thinking about growing oyster and a handful of other ones like that. I've watched a bunch of guys do them and learned the little tutorials. And it's more of a good thing to do over the winter. And but I have a couple grow tents for all my plants, my veggie starts and things like that. That's typically what they do is over winter, they'll put them in there. I got a few 100 onion plants that my onion starts are like 5-6 inches tall. And then I got about About 80 pepper plants coming up right now. My flowers, I've been having to transplant into some bigger cups. I got like nasturtiums. I got zinnias. I'm going to plant some borage. Got about 5 kinds of basil. So I got about 70, maybe 80 basil plants. Yeah, no problem, fishy. I got a Thai basil. I got a lemon basil. I got a lime basil. Interesting. Yeah, see, those mushrooms kind of like regulate your system. And, and alcohol isn't the best for your system. So I wonder if they're trying to like say something there. They're like, yo, this alcohol is, it's not agreeing with you. So the mushrooms like make your body extra sensitive to the alcohol, I wonder. With the native heritage that I come from, alcohol always messed me up, man. I tried my best when I was, late teen, early 20s to just get over it and get used to it and find the enjoyment. But every time I would drink, it would just make me nauseous and I would almost get sick. Yep. Just think about mushrooms, man. They really can be your friend. And that's the thing. Even the psychedelic ones that I've noticed over my lifetime, when people say they have a bad trip, a bad experience, and I'll break it down, I'll talk to them about it. I'm like, well, what happened? Well, I couldn't stop thinking about the blah, 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 all these things that went on in my childhood. And so it was terrible. I couldn't shut my mind down. I'm like, well, yeah, that doesn't sound like a bad experience. It sounds like a good aunt or an uncle that cares about you and that's trying to get you to look at something. They're trying to make you look at something that you're holding on to that's holding you back in life. But I don't want to look at that and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, I understand. But to me, that's a good friend who does that. They'll pat you on the back and say, I know you're doing good in life, but I can kind of tell that you're not looking at this. You're suffering. This, that, and the other thing seems to be getting the best of you. And sometimes, as a native person, the way we looked at it is a long time ago, we didn't have mirrors. And so we didn't really know what we looked like as a human being. Occasionally, if you got lucky enough to have some kind of still water, you could get a reflection of yourself. But you honestly didn't know what you looked like. And so to get an understanding of what you were and who you were and what you look like, you relied on others to tell you that. So your image of yourself was formed from others' words and others' actions towards you. And that's what I see mushrooms do. They'll be your friend. It just gives you a pat on the back that says, hey, take a look at this, my friend. And it's usually that's the hard part, is people don't want to do that. And I understand. How many times does mom tell you something's bad and you don't give a crap until you want to make a change? And then you'll be like, oh, all right, smoking really is bad for me, I guess. Otherwise, you're just wasting your breath. People don't change until they're ready for it. Fish don't bite unless they want to bite, too. That's what I'm getting. Yeah. Come on, get off there. My mom was a drinker. Both parents were cigarette smokers. And that was bad, man. They smoked like they would light one cigarette by the butt. I say my biggest vice has probably been food. I enjoy good food. That's where I like good, rich tasting, creamy food, nice, good ice cream, good stuff like that for dessert, and rich, beautiful curries and like Alfredo. Oh, great job, Alan. That's great. Yeah, that's probably what it seemed like my mom and them smoked. Benson and Hedges menthol. That was their jam. They smoked so much it was ridiculous. Neither of them quit until they got, that point where they got emphysemas and they had to have oxygen tanks and stuff. And I smoked for about a year. I was like 13. I had this just terrible cold. I mean, it was bad. One of the worst colds I had in my life. For about a week and a half, I couldn't smoke or do nothing. And so then I was like, well, why go back? Why go back to smoking? I haven't had one in a while. And so that bronchitis thing that I got actually was a good thing. Yeah, exact. That's the same with me. It just doesn't care for it. Even like the kombuchas and things that have a minor amount of alcohol will upset my stomach. I think it's always about finding an equilibrium, what works. I've lived a very healthy lifestyle for a long time, and then what I found is that, yeah, I'm glad you don't have no problem with that one. It's sometimes living those really intensely focused, healthy lifestyles becomes isolative. There's no restaurants you can go to because you don't eat any sugars. You're sweet. Good to hear, Andrea. Good to hear, mate. And so that's what happened to me. Is I like, man, I get into such this healthy way that I just didn't feel like I could relate with people very well. Like if every time I hung out with groups, I would have to be the guy who said, "Oh, sorry, I can't eat that, or I can't drink that, or I can't do this, or I can't do that." And I was like, "This is hurting." So I learned to have like a balance to stay healthy as much as I can, but then you know I stay away from red meat. I eat chicken and turkey and fish a lot. But if I'm at a restaurant and someone, buys some kind of appetizer that's got a little bit of beef in it, I'll eat it. It doesn't really hurt me too bad. It's just not my favorite anymore. Same with pork. Yeah, it's those mental cravings, huh? And I imagine that's what I've noticed with people that quit cigarettes and stuff. Yeah, the mental. You get over the physical parts, but then it's like when you become stressed out, and then when you used to the things that used to trigger you, and you would call for that that nicotine, because nicotine is a mild tranquilizer, and so every time you smoke a cigarette for like 20 minutes, your lungs, the alveoli of your lungs get numbed, number one, and then it's a nervine, so then it gives you this slight tranquilized effect. So for about 20 minutes after, when you have nicotine in your system from smoking, it takes the edge off everything. It just that's what a nervine does. That's what a slight tranquilizer does. It just makes you handle the stress of life. Oh, okay, I can handle this. And then same with your body wants to cleanse your lungs. And so old smokers will have this smoker's cough, and they'll wake up in the morning and their lungs are trying to get rid of this black tar that's in there, and they're trying to, like, they have this painful, nasty, like spit up kind of cough. My mom would go through that and she didn't like it, so she would fire up another cigarette, and then her lungs get numbed, because that's what the nicotine does. It numbs the alveoli in your lungs so that they don't do that anymore. Your body actually wants that tar out of your lungs. And so you get the smoker's hack and you're spitting up stuff, and then you're like, you notice that if you fire up another cigarette, it stops that all. But really, you should sit there for like an hour and just keep spitting stuff up until you can't spit anymore. And then your lungs will feel better. But so that's what I've noticed with most ex-smokers, is that when times get tough, they want that little bit of something to take the edge off. And that's what they used to get from cigarettes. And so until they learn how to give them that themselves, until they learn how to have coping mechanisms they put in their bag of life to replace that cigarette, it can be a teeny bit challenging. And that's where I've seen people, they accidentally do something wrong and they go to jail for the weekend, and then they'll start smoking. And they hadn't smoked in 10 years, but it'll trigger them. Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I did, Andrew. When I got real sick, man, I was like, screw this. It's funny. All my parents had three kids, me and my two older sisters, and all of us were smokers for a while. And my one sister smoked. My middle sister, she smoked forever. My oldest sister, she quit, and she is probably in her late 20s or something. And she said it was one of the hardest experiences of her whole life. When I did smoke in like 85, I smoked for about a year. It was 99 cents. It was $1 a pack for my Marlboros that I smoked, man. Now I look at the grocery store and I see those things for like $10 a pack. Like $10 here in California. $10 for a pack. I'm like, wow, how can people afford it? My mom would have been going through like $40 worth of cigarettes a day. Over $1,000 a month would have been her cigarette habit. It's a slow fishing day. Slow fishing day. Heck yeah, man. Yeah, crazy, man. Frees you up, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I got a little extra money that well, you always made a way to, you always found an excuse for spending the money. But now I'm sure you're like, whoa, look at this. I do my budget and I got a little extra for something. I had this other little side company, like a little Etsy kind of thing, and it would make me just a little bit of money, a couple $100 a month. But that's what I would use for like my fish and tackle kind of thing. I'd get a couple $100 worth, I'd save up for a few months and I'd buy a nice pair of waders or something like that. And I'm sure you know all about it, Andrew. Up here in the Pacific Northwest, we get all these different kind of fish, and they take different gear. Yep. Exactly. And so I have gear for plunking. I have twitching gear because the coho salmon, they prefer twitching. And then you got to have other gear for the Chinook salmon. And so I have, some bobber dogging kind of gear, and I have bottom bouncing gear for the Chinook, and I have my spinners for the Chinook too. And I got a particular rod for my twitching, and then you got twitching jigs that are 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce, and 1 ounce jigs, and they're all kinds of colors. So you got to get about 15 of each weight. So you end up having like 50, and that's just twitching jigs. And then you got beads. Do you want hard bead? Do you want soft bead? What color bead do you want? What size bead do you want? So I got a couple $100 in beads. Then you got to get bead hooks, because bead hooks work better than bait hooks. They're kind of a particular size and a particular shape. Then when we're doing, we're throwing in the rogue and we're back bouncing, you got to have weights for those. And you got to have different size, from 1 ounce up to 3 ounce, depends on the current. Then you got your plunking weights from 5 ounce up to 8 ounce weights. I really love my Okuma stuff, Andrew. I have about 6 different Okuma rods, I think. 2 of them I broke on my own. One up when I was hogging in a big 15-pound salmon, and I was just being stupid. And instead of walking straight back, I had my pole all bent over, and I was trying to pull him in that way, and it just snapped the pole in half. And another time when I was camping there, I'd set all my gear down, and it kind of got dark. I was sitting on my chair, and I walked over to the truck, and I snap when I heard it. It's like, oh man! And I just stepped on one of my Okumas, and I just broke it. But then I bought this $300 Okuma X, and the Stay Fishy guys, Jordan, was talking them up, and I'm like, all right, let me get this rod. And I was rocking that thing for a while, and the eyelets started coming off all by itself. And I was like, this is baloney, man. This thing is a real new rod. And it's $300. So I called them up, and then they, they take care of it. They just make you pay for shipping, basically, is all they do. And this is $20. And then they sent me a brand new Okuma X. And then I was like, well, you know what? I got these couple other rods. And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll warranty them for life. $20 and you can get a new one. And I was like, I don't feel right about that. I was like, I broke them by being stupid. I stepped on it. She's like, oh, it doesn't matter. We'll warranty them. I'm like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. But I'm like, I don't feel comfortable making you pay for my mistake. And they're like, okay, well, then tell you what. She packaged like both. All I needed was the top part of both those rods. And so she gave me the top rods, and it was like $40. She charged me to ship both of them out. And so for like $20 each, I got to fix the rods that I broke, and they would have fixed them, no problem. And you don't even have to have a receipt with Okuma. She was like, yeah, if you got the receipt, it'll be $20, it'll be $50 if you don't have a receipt. And you just mails, they want you to break the rod and just mail them like the handle that's got like the identification number on it, and then just send that back to them, and we'll send you a new rod for life. So once you get those Okumas, bro, you're set. You'll never have to worry about them, man. Okumas will take care of you, man. That is a good company. I usually just don't deal with warranties. I just kind of suck it up. I'm like, all right, whatever, my mistake. I shouldn't have bought from that company. Never buy from blah, blah, blah again. But this time I was like, nah, man, that's a $300 rod. I'm not going to just suck this one up. Man, I went over here because I thought I'd have a high chance of catching you guys a fish. High chance of nothing over here. I think I got a spot on the Rogue. A couple spots up there that I can get reception. Go up there and try and slam some steelies. Do a live. That'd be fun. Springers are coming in. And then we got the coho. One last chance on this one, and then I'm out, man. Yeah, I kind of stopped watching the Addicted guys a while ago as well. Cameron seems interesting. They seem to be chasing a little bit of something else in life than just a good time. Jordan's sweet. I like Jordan. I like Littles, man. Little's a good dog. But I think I kind of phased out. I started watching Stay Fishy Adventure for a while. And then they started doing all this stuff in Chile. And I felt like they were just kind of teasing us, man. And he'd be like, oh, I'm going to show you guys this salmon video. And then he's like, oh, actually I can't. That's going to be, shown in a big movie release on Addicted Fishing. And it just kind of started changing for me. I felt like they were after the profit instead of just the beauty of fishing anymore. But I did learn a lot. I probably learned a lot from Jordan, man. I really did. I learned a lot about my spinner fishing. He was probably my go-to guy for like 2 years when I wanted to learn. I would just hunt out ones that Jordan would talk about. I thought it would be fun to hire him as a guide. I was like, oh, it'd be good to take a trip with Jordan. He seems like my kind of dude. But yeah, I get you that. I get you that. You know, that's the thing about YouTube I've been learning is there's a certain level of decorum, especially on these live chats, man. People want to interact with you. I watched your first live that you did, Andrew, and like your phone was messing up a little bit on you in the chat. I don't know if you did it on purpose or whatever, but you didn't have chat like turned on, so we couldn't chat on you. And I kept watching people who would pop in and then they'd leave real quick because I think the chat was off. And so like these lives, there's a certain amount of interaction. And that same thing has happened to me when I've tried to message people. And they put it out there. Oh yeah, you know, my email's in the thing, get a hold of me. And then I do, and there's nothing. And then they're like, well, dude, well, why'd you put that out there? So I think it's like any conversation. There's a back and forth. It's like playing ping pong with somebody or tennis, and you serve the ball and they don't serve it back to you. After a little while, you're kind of like, lame, I'm out. So that's what I noticed about the fishing lives. It's like oh, we're gonna get sun here. I'm gonna get sun blind. I'll shut this live off in a few minutes here. We're gonna get beamed. The sun's behind the clouds. Clouds are about to go away. Yeah, it's an interesting one, you know, that I notice a lot of, I kind of enjoy smaller YouTube channels now when they get to be over a couple 100,000 people like Addicted is now. The personality, just the personable touch disappears. I used to like North Face gear in the 90s. They were like the top gear was the North Face. And then in the end of the 90s, they sold out to this big company and they started mass producing their stuff. And you'd find them in every little Fred Meyer's and anywhere you saw outdoor gear, but it used to be specialized stuff that only like REI sold. And once North Face was at any and everywhere, it just changed. It wasn't good stuff anymore. And I stopped buying North Face and started going with Mountain Hardwear and other good brands. I'm doing my best not to get a skunk, but man, this might be a skunk kind of day. This just might be a skunky day, man. Come on, big fish, where you at? Big fish, little fish, any fish, just a fish. We need a fish. Yeah, I was hoping to not end it with a skunk, but that's fine. That's fine. First live with a skunk. All right, Andrew, you take care of yourself today, buddy. Hope it's nice out there today. We're going to have a beautiful day here, so hopefully you guys have one as well. But I'm going to end this live, and I'll catch you guys on the rebound. And enjoy the rest of y'all's day. Thanks for being here. Being good. Catch some fish, y'all. Bye now.